So my name is Justin Ware. I'm co-founder of First Name. And again, we're at the top of the hour, seeing the attendee list stack up right now. So we're going to give everybody about 30 or 60 seconds here to get situated, get into the program. But again, my name is Justin. I'm co-founder of First Name, and First Name does digital programs for nonprofits, and particularly in higher education. We have a few really main areas. Donor engagement team, which is student-led, authentic video content to reach out to donors and prospects and to drive fundraising activity. And that's the focus of what we're talking about here today. So the Mizzou Digital Ambassadors Program, Show Me State Ambassadors, are part of our donor engagement team concept. That is the Mizzou version of it. We also do digital development officers, and we also have technology for giving days, for crowdfunding, for everyday online giving, and a new Mercury platform, which we're extremely excited about, which Mizzou is also using. So that's what we're going to focus on today, of course, primarily is the Mizzou Digital Ambassador piece. Some of the other pieces are coming as we speak. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started. I see the attendee list is still picking up here, but I want to provide just a real high-level overview of the program before we get into the conversation with our wonderful panelists today. So at the University of Missouri in Columbia, right now we have 11 students. The objective is 12. We're in the summer now, so we have a few who are leaving the program, and then we'll bring that back up to 12, I believe, this fall. The whole purpose here for the Mizzou Digital Ambassadors is a lot of video content, and really good quality video content, student produced authentic video. And when we say that, when we say student produced, we really mean that. Now we provide a ton of direction. The University of Missouri team, Mizzou Advancement, in collaboration with our First Name team, lead the students on literally a daily basis. There are project plans, there are program plans, there are detailed summaries, there's messaging, there's a lot of direction, and sometimes there's even scripts. Depends on the type of video that we're producing. But in the end, it's always the student voice. It's always very authentic, very real. And at the University of Missouri, at other client partners across the nation, we've seen that work extraordinarily well. Alumni connect with students. It's part of the reason why the telephone program has been so important over the years, because of that alumni to student connection. We're modernizing that. We're putting it into today's tool set, today's channel set, using video to communicate primarily. This is still a really new program. We've been doing this for several years. We have a few client partners who've been doing it for 2 or 3 years. But Mizzou really went all in a number of different ways, and in late 21 launched this program. And very shortly after, I think everybody on the call recognizes how fast and furious the winter was, with the Giving Day coming up in early March. That was launched. We're going to talk about that. It was a very successful event. Everyone on the call is going to discuss that. Already more than 1,000 videos in just the 6-month time frame. That's how prolific the students are, and it's just amazing content. And it's in everything. Reactivation campaign, stewardship, donor warming, engagement was one of the really strong suits of this program. Is no matter what you are trying to communicate, you now have video content with which to communicate that message. Some of the most niche funds can have a 2 or 3 journey video-based campaign instead of just an email that we had in the past. So lots of video content. That is the Mizzou Digital Ambassador Program. We have that underway. That's phase 1. Mizzou is also using our Mercury platform. That is also up and running. We're on our 2nd campaign right now after the Giving Day with Mercury. And then the Digital Development Officer Program, which actually is why I'm in Columbia today, to talk to some of the first DDO doing a training program with the DDO piece of it. So that's an overview of the program. Enough from me. Let's talk to the experts here. Todd McCubbin, Executive Director, Mizzou Alumni Association. Ashley Burton, Director of Alumni Donor Communication and Marketing, are on the call today. They'll be kind of taking the leadership perspective on how this program has been unfolding. And we're also going to talk with Angela Floyd, Assistant Director of Annual Giving and Membership. And I need to move my box here, but there's Jessica Zabriskie, Assistant Director of Digital Marketing, Alumni Donor Communication and Marketing. Angie and Jessica are working with the students on a daily basis, working with our team as well, and really kind of taking the leadership role in the day-to-day. So this is the group, and without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and welcome everybody onto the call. Let's see if I can escape. There we go. Hey, everybody, we see the boxes. Thanks very much for joining us. So first question, I'm going to start with Todd. this is really a bold shift in the channels and the tactics that Mizzou is using. I mean, we had phone in the past, and now we've moved to this authentic student-led video content. So tell us about the decision-making that led to the Mizzou Digital Ambassador Program.
Happy to do so. Welcome, Justin, to Mizzou. It's great to have you back on campus today. I hope it cools off a little bit for you. It's hot here in Columbia today. So thanks for being here. We hope we don't melt you from your time in Minnesota coming down here. But, it's a great question. And really a lot of things sort of came together to get us to this point to be where we're at today. There's no doubt. I think a lot of our peers out there have been sort of considering an alternative to the phone program, the traditional phone program. We had been doing the same. I know each year we kind of watched our results not really match maybe what we were putting into the program. And as we got closer to being underwater or even underwater, we decided, there's got to be a different way to look at this. And we just spent some time thinking about that. You brought COVID on and what that sort of meant. It just sort of was kind of the opportunity for us to step back and really think about what a program going forward could look like. You add in the fact that we got a new vice chancellor, and Jackie Lewis joined us right kind of in the midst of COVID. In fact, she joined us here and we weren't even in the office. And so she started her vice chancellor role there. And she really encouraged us to modernize what we were doing in the annual giving space to kind of grow our donor base and grow our pipeline and take a look at it, and even gave us permission to take some risk, frankly. And that was really all we needed to kind of think about what would be next and what could come along. And so when we heard about this opportunity with especially the Mizzou Digital Ambassador piece, it took me a little while to get past it because you're used to having a phone program and really those students are dialing for dollars, and you have dollars that are associated with them coming in every night. You see their reports every day, and this is a little different approach. However, when you step back and really looked at it, what it did was it really allowed us to sort of accentuate our strengths, which were certainly direct mail, and obviously our email and some of our digital efforts. And then also our crowdfunding efforts. Those are the ones that were really kind of driving the bus in the annual giving space. And we knew we had to do some more in the lead annual giving space too. And that's where the digital development officers came in. But I think for us, once we figured out sort of what our strengths were and how this could really help drive that and warm people to those approaches that we were pretty good at, it made a lot of sense to make the switch. So, everything kind of led us down the road of, we always probably felt like it was a risk. It probably wasn't as big a risk as we thought, or what we were telling ourselves. And certainly now we're, 6 months past, even 9 months past, and it certainly feels that way. So that's sort of how we got to where we're at today.
Awesome. Thanks, Todd. Next question. We'll hand this to Ashley first. And these are some new concepts, and there's some concepts that take a little getting used to for some of our client partners. The idea of authentic video with students being the voice. Tell me what the internal sales process was like. Did it take some convincing, or was this something where, the Mizzou internal crowd had an appetite for this? What was that process like, selling this to your internal partners?
Yeah. So our team has a strong affiliation and partnership with Mizzou marketing. And so we really kind of brought this idea to them as part of our implementation. Honestly, they were in with us right from the beginning. They were coming right along with the fact that authentic video has a really strong place in the Mizzou marketing mix, that our students could uniquely tell the story of philanthropy at Mizzou in a way that not everyone can. And some of our early students that we brought on right away were, to this day, some of our best. And so right out of the gate, we could show really fantastic results. I hardly had to sell it, to be honest with you. Just a lot of early support in that way. At this point, now with Mizzou Giving Day behind us, we have really locked in that place of trust and collaboration with them. And I think that's really important because looking around the virtual room here, I imagine there's people who have varying degrees of collaboration with their institutional partners in marketing. Sometimes maybe you're sitting at a foundation, you're sitting a little separate. The quality of the video increased our social media engagements and our post engagements around Giving Day so dramatically that what was already a pretty strong partnership was just like locked in solid. They were so pleased with the performance of the content and the engagements thereafter that it wasn't, we'll never again have to ask for a favor. It will always be this really, really great collaboration around Giving Day. and that bleeds all over into the other things that we do. So the opportunity to really elevate the message of philanthropy to those main university channels is accentuated through this partnership.
I mean, it's almost more a matter of now, managing the desire for the content as opposed to managing any pushback.
We definitely, our students are very focused in on the message of philanthropy. That's true, but they are some of the bright shining stars of that Mizzou talent mix. And so, yeah, they have a growing fan base, each of them.
And just for anyone watching, we're not going to take time to review the content today, but there is a lot of content online, and we can happily direct anybody, to some of that content if you'd like to see some of the Mizzou students, because they are just a remarkable bunch. I'm sure some people on the line know, maybe you don't, but Mizzou is probably the best journalism school in the country, or at least one of. I don't want to offend anyone, but they're very good. They're very good. And the thing is, it's not just journalism students. There's a lot of students from, poli-sci, from the business school, from all areas of campus that are telling a unique story. So anyway, hit us up afterwards. I'm very happy to share some of the examples of the content, because they really are a very, very compelling group. Okay, next question. I'll hand this over to Angela, who is very, very involved from the get-go of this, one of the leaders on campus, really kind of organizing the program. Tell us about the launch. What did you learn? What went well? What would you do differently, or what will you do differently in year 2?
Yep. So the launch went very well with the program, the Phonathon program shutting down at the end of calendar year 21. We started our recruitment in November. So recruitment went well. We use Handshake here, which I'm not sure if every university does, but it's all online, and the students are very familiar with it if they have started looking for on-campus jobs. So that went very well for us. The thing that was not ideal was the timing, just given the holiday with Thanksgiving, and then the students were coming back, and of course it's finals time, and then they left for the Christmas break. So, but we started interviewing in November, had great interviews all the way through the holidays. And so we actually were able to hire 5 students, but then we weren't able to really start working with them until after they came back from Christmas break. But once they came back after that, like mid-January, we were ready to go, because as we mentioned previously, we were rolling into our biggest campaign of the year, which for us is Mizzou Giving Day, and that takes place in mid-March. So by the time they got back mid-January, we had lots of ideas and lots of video concepts ready to go in order to get ready for Giving Day. So we had 5 on board, and we had videos laid out for them ready to do, lots of videos actually. And then by the time Giving Day came around, we had hired the other 6. So we had the total of 11 by the time Giving Day came around. And the 5 that we had worked with for the previous 2 months, we had never actually got to meet in person. So First Name came here, and we all got to be in person during the 2 days of Giving Day. And the 5 students worked with First Name on creating videos in person that were sent out during the 2 days of Giving Day. And the 6 new students actually got to see how we worked together, watch the what the 5 the older students were doing, see how we all worked together. And it was a great way to just interact, all meet each other. And so that was very successful. So the lesson learned is that we would do differently is not start hiring over the holidays, but it all worked out really well for us. So
Yeah, a remarkably short runway. I mean, I would suggest trying to do it more than 2.5 months prior to a Giving Day, but that's just how things lined up. And again, kudos to everyone on the call. It went remarkably well. The students were, we were able to get them spun up real quickly, trained really quickly. I mean, I can say from experience, really the best time to do this is right around that fiscal year break. I mean, students in July are looking for jobs in the fall, so you get a lot of applicants. That's when ideally you'd like to be interviewing students, vetting students is late July, August, get them spun up and ready to go in September. And then they're ready for your fall campaigns, Giving Days, or, spring campaigns. But again, right at the end of the calendar year, we were able to roll it out and do quite well. So again, kudos to everybody on the call. for that. Quick note, you'll notice the Q&A on the screen here. I see some questions are already coming in. Please don't hesitate, don't hold back. We will get to as many of those as we can. We're going to save some time at the end. We're going to cover a lot during the panel discussion today. So, I don't want to get ahead of an answer that's coming, but again, we will absolutely save time at the end. So please put your questions in the Q&A feature on Zoom. Thanks in advance for that. Okay. Next question, and this one is for Jessica and the daily management of the students. So more than 1,000 videos in 6 months. What is required to manage that kind of a content load and a team of 11 students?
Nailed it. It starts with having a great team of students and a great internal team to work with as well. But if anyone is starting a program like this, know that the students' work is project-based and they don't have a set schedule. They could be, needing help at various times when you're maybe not on the clock. So being aware of that and being ready and available to answer those questions after hours is important, so that we can keep the ball moving. And we've given the students our cell numbers so that they can reach us and so that we can respond as needed. Another thing is that we need to keep in mind the varied levels of skills of the students as they come on. As Justin mentioned, we have several, we're the #1 J school in the country, and we have some J school students who have really great talent and skills already in that area. And some of them we hired because they brought a really good perspective, but maybe didn't have quite as many technical skills. So we just need to be aware of where everyone is on that technical level and make sure to support them and help them grow. And my third thing to mention is just don't be shy to repeat important notes on filming guidelines. Some of this we're really used to in a marketing space, but the students aren't. So reminding them on things like captioning tigers is capital T, or try not to shoot in front of construction zones or cones and stuff. Be aware of your background. That doesn't always come super easily at first. So just keeping that drumbeat going is important.
That's a really good point. And also just some of the brand guidelines too. So, students are producing all the content, but our teams have developed things like consistent lower thirds, full screens. We often provide clothing, for example, like hoodies and t-shirts and things like that, because we want to make sure that there's sort of a dress code that students adhere to as well, which is also a management piece.
In that vein, we also did get all of the students some stabilizers so that they could walk around on campus. And I think that was really helpful, especially when they were doing walking and talking shots, and it, there was bouncing, walking. So we've made some investments in the students, and that's one of them. And as well as Justin mentioned, we offered a stipend of money for clothing to wear.
Yeah, everybody likes, sending stuff to donors, but we'd rather not have to send out Dramamine for motion sickness in advance of watching videos. So yes, little tools like those, handheld tripods go a long way. Let's talk performance. We had a giving day. That was really the first chance to really prove this. I think things went really well. So Angela, Jessica, please share any stats around that. But also, I know, Ashley, you talked about some of the social media metrics as well. How are we measuring this so far? What are the stats? What are the metrics? How has this actually performed in terms of what we're after as an advancement operation?
So our giving day this year, we raised a little over $4 million, and we brought in a little over 2,700 gifts. And we were very happy with how that went. We were super excited for our MDAs and all the videos and the content that we were creating. They created incredibly engaging videos. So leading up to Giving Day, they created warming videos for us, and they were awareness, consideration, and intent. As we've been talking about, we were late to the game on the videos due to hiring and getting the students back on campus. So next year we will start working on these a lot earlier, and we'll start sending these out a month ahead of Giving Day instead of, I think we got them out 2 to 2.5 weeks earlier this year. And so our giving day, instead of going like the full one day, we do ours from noon on Wednesday to noon on Thursday so that we can launch during the day and then we can celebrate during the middle of the day. So we had our students create videos for, we kind of like a launch video, like, hey, giving day has begun. So they created that ahead of time. And then for the morning of giving day on Thursday morning, we sent one out that like, hey, there's still time to give. And then they had a wrap up celebration video that they created for us. And then on the stewardship side, this is what we created on site with First Name and all the students there that day. They created over 133 personalized emails for donors, and those were created at a certain gift threshold. These emails had a 71% open rate through, and we used ThankView for these emails to be sent out. And then there were over 1,900 general emails that went out. And we used one student email for all of those general emails. And then we sent 26 personalized emails to our campus leadership donors, and those had an 81% open rate as well. So very successful. The students loved creating those, especially the ones on site, because they could learn about who they were going to and what the donation was for. And it was just great being on site with them that day and having all that energy and excitement around. So social media and engagement, Jay-Z.
I'll jump in here. So as far as their impact on the social media reach and engagement, I think as Ashley mentioned, it was really great. So let me pull my numbers here real fast. I had pulled them up and then I lost it. There were a total on our ads that we placed through Mizzou. We had a total of 252,247 impressions, a 0.88% click-through rate, which was really great. And then let's see. What other ways are we tracking or measuring the MDA program? We are going to be tracking the views, social media engagement, year over year conversions on appeal messaging. And that's how we plan to keep abreast of how the MDAs are performing and whether or not they're successful in their efforts. We worked with Mizzou to host our ads for Mizzou Giving Day, and they also shared organic posts. This partnership allows Advancement to basically reach a wider audience, which I think we'll touch on a little bit later, but we essentially try to keep all of our posting as much as possible when it's a big campaign like this, going through the channels that have the most reach and the best audience. So this is one of those where we were able to partner with our campus essentially and make the videos and then move them upward.
And the numbers on the organic reach on that were pretty substantial. We've had this partnership established for years, so we could look at year over year data. And really the only thing that changed in the rollout was the video. I mean, we've been doing Mizzou Giving Day for several years now. Frankly, we're pretty good at it. We've got a well-oiled machine. It's, we've got things moving along here, but yet with the addition of the videos, our social media engagement really kind of skyrocketed. And it's because video on social just is higher performing than posts. That's something that, I say it out loud and you're like, oh yeah, obviously. Well, to make video on the scale that we did this year is a huge undertaking unless you have a partner that can help you get it off that ground and you have really great storytellers. And that was the game changer this year.
Yeah, it's that year over year piece. And I know Ashley, Jessica, Angela, you need to correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the number of impressions in social media went from something like 6 million to 14 million with the student video. Is that like a 155% increase?
It was massive, right?
And that's, that is pretty typical because just like you mentioned, it's as simple as when you have this really good authentic content that you just weren't able to produce in the past, to be able to put that out there, it just provides so many more pathways into whatever objective it is, and any campaign, any online destination. So yes, that is incredibly impressive, and Mizzou does it as well or better than anybody. But we have seen similar numbers in other cases as well.
Just one more quick thing on video. As an institution, our typical video approach, in the past has been academic leaders, executives, which is great and has its place in the mix. But the performance of those can be different than when you have student-led, because the students, again, there's an accessibility, there's a relatability, there's an interest there. And so that, I imagine if you're looking back in your own repertoire, you're remembering the many executive videos we recorded. And again, they have a place in the mix for sure. But there is something very uniquely and authentically special about getting a thank you from a student who was positively impacted by the gift, rather than essentially the rest of us were paid spokespeople.
That's right. That's right. I mean, it's the number one asset at an institution are the students,
Yep.
and Mizzou has really highlighted that story. Again,
Justin,
questions. Oh, go ahead, Todd.
Sorry, Justin, real quick, and just our team did a great job with Giving Day, and they're really strong in that space. I'll say this, one of the things, kind of a bigger picture I'm excited about, is that was really our launch with MDAs, right? So that's the first time folks had seen them. I'm excited about, trying to see, next Giving Day, having this approach kind of go out the year. So it's not just about warming for one campaign. It's warming over the course of a time frame to giving in general. So maybe they might give in the fall to something else or whatever else, but they have a more of an opportunity to see what we're all about, see more content from our students. We definitely achieved, I think, in terms of more content and people seeing more of our content through Giving Day. And while the gifts were great, I think we're only going to see that increase as people get used to that approach and get to know our student ambassadors more through the other campaigns that we do throughout the year. So again, it was our first effort, and we were excited about it. We learned some things and did some really neat things, but I do think it's going to pay dividends for us in the future too.
That's a really good point. Aptly named Mizzou Digital Ambassadors, and they're not one and done. A lot of these students, most of the students, I think, are going to be back for year two, right? They're going to be back in the fall. Incredibly talented students. And what ends up happening is alumni start to recognize them. They start to recognize their names. We can do things like use them in email subject lines and increase open rates and increase conversions and click-through rates, because again, they become sort of like these semi-celebrities that are really kind of the face of giving. And I think, we have everybody, sophomores for sure, I think, juniors, people who will be back for 2 and 3 years. And I don't know if we're going to say this at some point, but the students really like this work. They really like this work. We have gotten just almost all of our client partners, we've heard from the students saying how this is the most fun they've had in any kind of a role. It's preparing them for the future, but they love the video work. It's a very sought after position. It's a great spot for a student, and it's a pipeline, because we're going to talk about the DDO in just a second. But one of the digital development officers we hired is about one of the only MDAs who won't be here next year because she was a senior last year. And, there's your talent pipeline. We get these incredibly talented video communicators who now go on to be fundraisers for the organization. So Todd, Ashley, tell us about that piece of it. It's the MDA is phase one. Now phase two is what we're launching right now, the digital development officers.
Yeah, I'll jump in here, Ashley, and you can clean it up and check me here in terms of things I may have missed. But you're right. We had 12 MDAs, and now we have 11 because we hired one of those newly graduated MDAs as our digital development officer. She'll start with us next month. She's getting a little time off after graduation. We hired 2 DDOs, and the other DDO started just last week and is going through training. In fact, that's why you're here today, Justin. I think you're spending some time with Sam, who's going to be helping us out in that space, and we're really excited about it. I think that for me, in terms of how the MDAs and DDOs really kind of come together, and for those who are, I think a lot of people are familiar with DDOs, but these are individuals who are going to work kind of in that lead annual giving space. They're going to have a pretty substantial portfolio of donors in that space. So somewhere in that space between $1,000 and $50,000 givers, if you will, and that are not assigned to any of our major gift fundraisers. And that portfolio is going to be somewhere between maybe 800 to 1,000 individuals. And we're going to keep warming them to the point where we kind of narrow that down to a really solid portfolio, and they'll work with them almost as a customer service agent, if you will, for Mizzou and our giving platform, to make sure that we're reaching out, sending them content, making sure that we answer their questions and they get a little more personal touch than just how they normally would give, which may be through the phone program in the past or direct mail. And so our goal is to move them. There's no doubt about that. We also have a goal around allowing those individuals to, or hopefully a goal around referrals up to our major gift officers when folks may be ready for that opportunity. So we have 4 folks in our lead annual giving space. 2 are what I would call traditional officers. They'll take some of our folks at more of the top of that zone, that $0 to $50,000 annual giving space we have, and then our digital development officers will take sort of the rest and go through that process. And there's a lot more that we probably could get into a portfolio too, and we'll have to see how this goes and if this is a growth area for us in terms of how the numbers go this first year. When I see the collaboration between the MDAs and the DDOs is all about content. Our DDOs need to have a ton of content to be able to share with the donors in their portfolio through email, through social media, whatever that may be, and more so than just an email from them or a video from them. They need to have other things to be able to share with them around campus. And so this will allow us some content opportunities that our DDOs can take advantage of and get in front of donors, whether it's stewardship, whether it's information about a certain fund or activity on campus that somebody may be interested in that's been mentioned, and some communication back and forth. But this really is a content opportunity for us. And there's probably a lot of other ways they're going to play off each other. But I think starting out, that's the biggest one that we're looking forward to seeing these 2 groups kind of work together as we get up and rolling here in FY23.
Absolutely. Ashley, anything to add to that?
Well, so Todd teased me up nicely for what's in year 2, and that Todd gave a lot of the feedback on that. Really thinking of it's hard to even call it year 2, because really from the moment we said go, we're only in month 5 or 6, and we've gotten a lot done in these first few months. But what we've only started working on and will become the focus, I think, of this next year is really impact driven storytelling. Mizzou Giving Day, again, because of the timing of it, a lot of that was setting up the tone and the space and the excitement around Giving Day, but it wasn't a lot of content-based information. We'll see more of that as the year goes on. We're storytelling around specific ideas, the impact of philanthropy, and we have some examples of that from the spring. And I'm going to give one example of a great story that we told. We also did it in collaboration with our campus partners, which I think Justin might be an upcoming question for me, is how does this deepen those partnerships? This is a great example of how philanthropy can have a university-wide angle and where video can aid in that. And that's the Legacy Oaks campaign. So we imagine with me for a moment the spot on campus that everybody loves the most, the place everybody visits when they come home, the place they take their picture, the place that's in every one of your recruitment and philanthropy materials. Okay, so that for us is the quad. It is the most beautiful, almost sacred place of the campus. Part of it is was the beauty of the space, including these huge giant oak trees, which just happened to be at the peak of their age, sick, and needed to all come down. They all came down this summer and were being replaced by trees that are better suited for the environment. That all sounds great on the surface, but what it does mean is a pretty big transformation of the look of the quad for people who are used to seeing this shady grove. Now it's a sunny beach almost. So we went into this as a campus really focused on how we were going to set the expectations for people so that they would know what was coming, to explain it through education, but also like to highlight an opportunity to get involved and support it, because there is a pretty important philanthropic role in this, in that you can adopt the trees, you can sponsor a tree, and you can just contribute to the Mizzou Botanic Gardens in general. And so we worked together as a campus, and we created a content plan that had written pieces and social and various audiences considered in all the channels, the campaigns we all love. But what was wonderful about it is because advancement was part of that conversation, we had the MDAs in there, we were able to use our channels to get the message out to people who are likely to come to campus, alumni and supporters, and also to give them a chance to support. And so one of our lovely MDAs, Bree, went out on campus and did a great story about Legacy Oaks, about the oaks, so that you can understand why they had to come down and why they need to be replaced, and that philanthropy can help us with this opportunity. And so that video was tied into some of the pieces that went out that were shared more organically. It also went out as an appeal. And I think that's what we'll get to see more and more of. So that's a great combination of driving with a story, telling it well in an interesting way, working across all channels and working across all audiences in a purposeful way so that really anybody who's interested in giving, doesn't matter if you're an alum, a staff member, you could be in the community. There's a really good chance that you've had a chance to see that video and had a moment to think, well, maybe I want to help, make this all possible. So one of my favorite examples, and I hope to see more and more of that, expect to see more and more in that as we continue to build better and stronger content with our students.
Yeah. And I'll just say that that's a really great example of a video where we could have gone the usual route of talking to a person at Mizzou Botanic Garden or interviewing like someone involved with that sort of thing. And that has a place for sure. But in terms of talking to our audience and presenting it in a fun way and having the MDA do it, it just worked out really well because she did a great job.
We had a video storyteller tell through video, and then we allowed the experts to have their quotes in the article. And that really just allowed everybody to be their best selves in the appropriate channel.
Yeah.
And to Todd's point about getting the word out about the students and for our donors getting to know them, or the people across campus getting to know them, Bree was specifically requested for that video project. And I know that within First Names world, she is highly regarded as well and used as one of the show-offs when you're, she's one of the best. And the ideas that she comes up with and how to record, what to record, it's amazing. But just
if you have a sales demo coming up, I promise you will meet Bree during that sales demo.
Yeah.
And just to continue the point about collaboration with our partners, I'll add on that in some of the work that they do, they're open or they're encouraged to do kind of slice of life, authentic videos about what's going on in their world. And to that end, Corey, someone who's going to be joining our team, did a great video about her the last week of her senior year. That maybe doesn't have like a very obvious place for us to shout out in the philanthropy world, but was a really great story to spin up to Mizzou to post, Mizzou marketing to post. So that's a really great example of we have content that we can then share with our partners and just
mutually beneficial.
really build.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we did actually also share it. We let them spin it up and then we shared it to say like, welcome to all of our graduating seniors and Corey, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, we know the style. It's 1 minute, it's quick hitting, but it finds a way to tug at your heartstrings. Corey is just remarkable at being able to do that in just the most. She's like a TikTok star, right? But a TikTok star that a 65-year-old is also going to connect with, right? Because of just the way she's able to communicate in that package and that, in that short, succinct, but really compelling content piece.
You mentioned TikTok, Justin. I was just going to say for people who are thinking about how to wrap your heads around this, we actually studied TikTok. So when I was like sitting in my living room watching TikTok at night, I told my husband I was working. So pardon me, but I'm going to need an hour to just sit here and cruise my TikTok. But really, we did go to TikTok a lot for inspiration because when you think about that, that is the place where you go to watch people tell authentic stories. And you find yourself getting pretty far down a storyline that you wouldn't even expect to go just because the storytellers are so great. You just can't walk away. And so we looked to there for inspiration on how videos were cut, the ways that they would interact with the camera, the things that kind of get on your nerves. And that was where we realized that everybody needs stabilizers because we were getting motion sick. So I actually think that TikTok is a great place to get inspiration for the style of video because you are ultimately asking people to watch something that they maybe weren't expecting to watch. And you're going to ask for their attention for a little while, not a long while. And so the story does need to move in an interesting way. And so that does require some cutting, some quick turns, some quick and quippy scripts.
Yeah, you can learn a lot. It's important to do research on TikTok, like you said.
Thank you. Thank you for validating that.
Absolutely. I want to talk more about just kind of integration with programs, campus partners. I actually want to circle back a little bit and talk about that DDO piece real quick. I think there maybe was a follow-up there, Angela. What does that look like structurally? Like how are we planning on integrating DDO and MDA in a structural way?
I think we look at them like we do with all of our campus partners. We've talked about inviting them to our weekly meetings not every week, but some of our weekly meetings that we have with the students, with our bi-weekly planning meetings that we have with BWF, so that they can hear what we have coming up, what projects we have down the road, so that they can see what they want to use, get a list of ideas maybe that they want to create, hear what they want to use. And so just hear what's going on, and then maybe they come with a list of what they would like us to create, just like what the units across campus have done after Mizzou Giving Day, because they saw, oh, hey, here's what these students have produced. Now, here's what I would like to see. So I think that's how we are thinking of it at this time. So granted, they just started. Now we kind of have to see how it goes from there. But at least for the first couple of weeks, that's how we're thinking about it. Now, you ask us in 2 or 3 months after they've gotten on board, and we'll tell you how it really plays out.
Sure. Yeah, and you know, I mean, observing the environment at Mizzou, it's not a silo-heavy environment. There's a lot of good partnerships across campus. So, you know, looking at marketing communications, because at other institutions, we actually seen this really kind of tear down silos in some cases and kind of create this cross-campus collaboration because the content's so rich and there's so many ways of using it. So again, I don't want to suggest like there were some barriers before this, but you know, what does a relationship look like? You know, I think maybe Jessica, this might be a question for you, but like marketing and communications. I mean, obviously this is an outward facing marketing vehicle. So we want to have that collaboration. How are other key campus partners involved in this?
Well, for the most part, if we find like we have content that we think would work for other people, we reach out. And I think that's the first step. We're not shy to say like, hey, we have this thing. I'm not sure if that would be of interest to you, but we wanted to share it. If you don't want to use it, you know, we'll find a way to use it as well. But some of it is reaching out, you know, to be honest. And some of it is like Ashley mentioned with Legacy Oaks, there was a conversation going on ahead of time. And we found that there was a really natural way for the MDAs to have a place there.
I would say that the real gain for us is the gain of philanthropy at that university level, at the institutional level. We get a little, you know, a bonus now and then when a video has another purpose, but we really get where the real opportunity lies is as we're going through editorial planning from a university standpoint. What are the big things that are happening to see? What are the big stories? Gosh, you guys, advancement offices get left out of those conversations all the time,
Yeah.
but because of really strong partnerships we have here and a strong representation of alumni and donor voices at that table, we really can talk about the best times to talk about philanthropy when we're making those big announcements, when we're sharing those stories, when we're sharing the good news of Mizzou. And video just further augments those efforts, gives us a really nice thing to include. It gives us a nice asset to offer, and does it in a way that everybody loves and is a value add. So that's the gain. And I think we're going to see more and more of that as we roll into year 2 and more opportunities arise. I think we've hit just the tip of the iceberg of that as we've, you know, wrapped Q2 of this project.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that I'll just say like, I think that our main Mizzou marketing partners have done such a great job of pulling us all together too. I mean, it's not really necessarily us doing in a way, you know, we've got that support, which is really great.
They've seen the content and now they're like, this is amazing. Keep sharing, please.
Absolutely. So, you know, a lot of institutions are looking at some version of this, of ways that keep students involved. They're moving away from the phone, right? I mean, most institutions we've talked with have seen a steady decline in donors, dollars, contacts, completes, everything else. But still at the same time, even if, you know, you're at 1,000 donors over the phone, doesn't matter if you were at 5,000 over the phone 10 years ago, that's still 1,000 donors. So there's still a lot of trepidation, a lot of questions. For institutions that are considering a move to a video focused, digital focused student engagement team, donor engagement team, what advice would you give to those institutions?
we want to go around the room here and see who we'll do. Let's Angela, let's start with you.
I was in your shoes last year at this time, and I think it took like 10 different meetings with Todd for myself and my team to understand what was happening. Because when he says that we're going to shut the phone-a-thon program down, like all the alarms are going off in my head. And then he says we're going to this donor engagement center, and we're going to need to hire 12 students, and they're going to produce all these videos for us. And then we talk about the DDO program. I mean, I have no idea what he's talking about. And so it just takes a while, but you will get there and you will figure it out. And it's this amazing thing. I mean, everybody on this call knows that our students are amazing. And so just take a deep breath. It's all going to be okay. And it's amazing, but it will take time. It's a long process, but it's like the most amazing thing, but it will take a long time. But I'll just never forget that I just had to keep asking, we're doing what? So it just takes a while.
It's very encouraging. Angie,
good.
I love that.
Okay.
I would
good.
throw out too that the way that we're organized is really helpful. So we have our annual giving team that Angie sits on. Jessica and I are on the marketing communications team, both in advancement. Sister teams, we work really closely on all kinds of things.
My partners in crime, I could not
Yep.
do it without them.
Exactly, but it kind of takes the two perspectives to come together to make this work. I think it would be harder if you only had one perspective at the table.
Yep.
So not that it wouldn't be possible, but we brought different ideas and strengths that came together to make this possible. So I would throw that out there as a, if you're in a similar situation at your own organization, there is a benefit to having both perspectives at the table and thinking through, both the marketing and the annual giving aspects.
Yep.
As well as lead annual giving, obviously.
And we partner with donor relations a lot too, which
Thank
helps
you.
from that
Donor relations.
stewardship side.
Yes, exactly.
Jessica, I'll back cleanup on this. You have anything else to add?
If you're going to, if you start with a campaign in mind where you want to use it, give yourself enough time to be prepared.
Yes.
But I mean, regardless of the amount of time we had, it was successful. I'm very happy. But don't do that to yourself.
Yeah,
You
maybe
can
don't
avoid
start
it.
with Giving Day.
Yeah,
And authentic video doesn't mean is easy video. That was actually a space where we did go into this pretty eyes wide open. Again, going back to my TikTok example, if you watch your favorite TikTokers, they're not just like lifting up their phones and taking video. They are thoughtfully scripting themselves in advance, purposefully thinking about their space and how they're going to cut their music. That's why you like them, because you can tell that they put a little thought into what they're going to do. And you're going to have to do the same here. So we definitely write scripts. We definitely think about backgrounds. We have a prohibited list. There are certain places where we don't want you to use as backgrounds because they're distracting to people, or there's something in people's minds that isn't going to be helpful. There's several things like that students have to do as they're preparing. The clothing that you mentioned, Justin, was great. We had one great early win with Corey where she did, I think her very first video, she was all dressed in Mizzou garb, and it was like part of her setting the scene. She like pulled in her black boots with her cool black hoodie. And we were like, oh my gosh, yes, everybody needs to dress the part too. So we had some light bulb moments as well, but authentic does not necessarily mean easy, but authentic means maybe approachable, accessible, personable.
Yeah, I think the phrase that I keep hearing, authentic does not mean amateur.
No, this is by
Very
no means is this an
professional,
amateur
very
operation.
real.
These students are pros. Yes.
That's good.
Justin, I think the thing I'll add, and I thought about this one, the questions you had in front of us a lot. I will say that there's advice I would give is embrace non-traditional. And people that are on campus right now, especially here, are probably going to fall out of their chairs to hear me say that, because I'm about as much the most traditional guy. We're a tradition-rich campus. We love our traditions at Mizzou. I've grown up on them. It's a big part of what we do. But what I love about working in alumni engagement, annual giving, donor relations, the Marcom team that we have, and all the teams get to work together is we can really take some chances and do some cool things to try to move things forward, right? So we're trying to attract new donors. We're trying to attract people to be engaged in our university. We're trying to, doing those sorts of things. You can't keep doing the same things every year and expecting a different result, right? And so you've got to kind of mix it up at times. And while it took Angie maybe 10 meetings to get to that point, it probably took me 15. So I got those out of the way before I got to her. But I'll say that I've seen our team have more fun this year than I've seen in a while, just kind of working our way through it. It's a lot of work. So I'm not going to say it's not a lot of work, but we've had more fun. We've had some, to have that feeling of investment from our leadership has been a nice feeling, I think, in terms of the annual giving space. Let's face it, annual giving can be a slog. It's tough. I know we got a lot of great people that are joining us today online and do this on a daily basis. And it's hard work. And alumni engagement, same way, same with donor relations, are all hard, difficult jobs in terms of those numbers and what you're trying to get to from a metrics perspective. And so this has been a chance we've taken, and we're not saying we're successful yet. We're just saying we have seen some things early on that we're really encouraged by, and we think it's a good fit for us to move forward. And so I think that non-traditional sort of mindset, that growth mindset, is really, really important. And you got to push yourself into it, especially when you get in the roles like we all have. And so that's what I'll say. And I will say this, I got to take the opportunity to pitch this. So we have a lot of great people on the call today. We have a great position that's open as executive director of annual giving and membership. You can work with these awesome folks on a daily basis, along with a host of other folks. And we would love to have great candidates apply and come join us here at Mizzou. You get to kind of figure out what we're doing on this digital side of things, along with all the other things that we're doing. You get the pom-poms out, Ashley. There you go. We didn't practice this at all, but we would love to have folks give us a call or reach out to me on LinkedIn or whatever, just to see if this would be a good fit for you. And hey, if you want to stay where you're at, good luck with what you're doing, and God bless you, because we know you're doing some great work. So I will put that out there. We had a great team. We had a great environment, and I think we're doing some really cool things, and somebody might want to be a part of that, and we'd invite them to have a conversation with us.
And I will second that. It is a fantastic team. Everyone on this call, and a lot of support people who aren't on the call today. Just as speaking on behalf of First Name, we've had an absolute blast working with this team. We cannot wait to continue. So thank you all for that. We've got only 8 minutes left, so I'm going to go into the Q&A. We do have some questions. If you have a question, go ahead, add it. I will try to get to it, but I want to go through the ones that are there right now. So first thing is application process for students. What does that look like?
We asked for just a cover letter and a resume. And so then we sit down with, typically it's myself, Jessica, and then a First Name counterpart. We do a Zoom interview. And then after that, we ask for a 60-second video from the student. We watch that, and then that's it. Right, Jessica? Okay.
Mhm. Make a
been
decision
like
from there.
6 months.
They
so
apply online.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, I mean, you do enough of these, you know what to look for. And the student videos are a big part of it. But yeah, we do exactly that. We look for those whose resumes obviously seem to be a decent fit for it. The interview is a big part of it. And then the video often is what seals the deal, is asking for that. So speaking of videos, what tools do the students have? What are we providing them? What are they using? How are they creating all this amazing video content?
So they are using, a lot of them are using their phones to film on. I'd say that's the majority, if not all of them are doing that. And they use a various different kinds of tools. So maybe some of them are on Premiere Pro, some of them are on iMovie, and that's where First Name can be really helpful in supporting some of those programs that I don't really know anything about. I know Premiere Pro, and I can help enough to get them through a project, but on other stuff, maybe not so much. So
yeah, our team, we're experienced across all platforms, whether it's iMovie, all up to Final Cut Pro and everything in between. And students come with all levels. Some of them have Final Cut Pro, and that's what they prefer to use. So we train them on that. Others have literally never edited anything before. They just put stuff on social media, and they have a really compelling personality. So we have to have some training there in terms of the editing pieces. But yeah, it's good to be versatile, good to be flexible. And ultimately you want to adjust for, what your talent is comfortable with. Audience questions. Are there specific audience segments that we're aiming for with the MDAs, or are we going wide? How are we segmenting our audience for this channel?
think it has a place for almost every audience. I would say we're targeting at this point more of the annual giving, lead annual giving, but that is by no means the end goal. That's just where we started. Now, Mizzou Giving Day is everybody. Mizzou Giving Day, we ask everybody to give. So yeah, nobody was
Spared.
safe from
No
that ask.
exclusions there.
Exactly. But although it is definitely a tool that, you know, is tied to the annual giving strategy, it is by design a part of the advancements toolkit. And so I do think there will be a day when we will use this across all of our targets and all of our campaigns, but purposefully. So if we have a donor who's interested in making a gift at any level, one thing that we're exploring right now, we're doing proposals in a digital manner. And we have a tool to do that, but we don't have a ton of video that are forward-looking, bigger gift led. This could be a great opportunity for some students to get and entice some pieces together for us and create a nice digital piece that could be part of that. So that's just an opportunity for us to explore in the future. And so, yeah, I think it could work really for all of your targets.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this has been masked, but then when we get to the DDO piece, you know, because we talked at the onset how, you know, first thing is very focused on video, but right there, close second, maybe more like 1B is personalization at scale. And I think that's where the DDO piece comes in. So, I mean, you know, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts around that? Around, like you said, maybe a fully digital proposal where we've got 8 pieces of content from students speaking directly to a donor. I mean, have you talked with gift officers, directors of development, and brainstormed around that?
I think that's for the sort of the next phase is where can the influence grow? So, yep, that's right. Whether that's explaining a particular component, some impact, and then obviously on the stewardship side, you mentioned our partnership with donor relations. That was really influential as part of Giving Day. Those personalized thank yous are great as well. So it feels like almost no end to how we could explore this partnership.
Yeah, and that, you know, just I forget if we talked in details about this, but those were mid-level donors who were giving what, like, you know, significant gifts on Giving Day. And I think something like 200 personalized videos went out, thanking them, mentioning not just the donor's name, but information about the fund in some cases, you know, really truly personalized and real time, like within hours of them making a gift, real time videos going out. One last question here. Actually going on the other end of the spectrum, students and student philanthropy. Are we using students to speak to their peers on philanthropic education to help build culture of philanthropy? I think there's a student foundation actually where a lot of the students are involved with that. So talk about that piece of it. Are they growing the culture of philanthropy from the bottom up, starting with the students who are currently on campus?
We are not, I'm sorry.
Oh, go on, Angie.
I was just going to say, currently we are not using the MDAs for that part of the program. They are not speaking specifically in regards to like the Raleigh Mizzou Scholarship, or they're not a part of the Mizzou Student Foundation. We 3 members work on the MDA program that are part of the Mizzou Student Foundation, but they don't do that peer-to-peer right now.
I think there's opportunities to do it, and I can see that as part of our potentially the Giving Day strategy going forward. Yeah, there are opportunities where we could more fully flex that. I don't know that the student-to-student voice was our priority out of the gate, but that's not to say that it wouldn't be at some phase.
Yeah, I would say if you look at the overall program, that is definitely an opportunity that I think has, you know, we can grow. We're not strong in the student philanthropy space. There's other universities that probably are better at that than we are, have been, but definitely out of the gate, our focus was student to alum donor type of giving. And so it opens up possibilities. And again, embrace non-traditional, right? So how do we think about the student philanthropy piece and how we get more in tune with that and with these tools? That's something I think it gives us an opportunity to dig a little deeper on in the future.
Fantastic. 2 minutes to go. Did we not cover anything that we want to make sure we cover before we break?
Justin, did I mention we have a job available
That's
here?
just what I was
Executive
gonna say.
Director of Annual Giving and Membership. I didn't know if I mentioned that or not, but we do, and we would love to talk to anyone who's interested.
I'm sitting in the office right now. I could give a tour if somebody wants to see.
Oh gosh.
We need an MDA to do a tour. We should have brought one on.
That's right.
I think
Thank you
I'll
so
just
much. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to really quick say, like in relation to Todd's point about thinking non-traditionally, we have a formula, if you will. Student makes a video, we share a video with a donor, but we did experiment with using one of our MDAs for an event that is supported by Mizzou Traditions Fund this year, and they basically did a little takeover. So that's a great example of how we're going to continue to use keep the students active and creating content for us, but in a maybe less, traditional ways. Their role might, when we first hired them, indicate they would be working with us.
But can I leave the attendees with kind of a visual? If you could imagine, your own alma mater experience. We did a lot more with digital engagement the last couple of years. We're not the only ones. You're probably nodding to yourself and thinking the same thing. And in live streaming more and Facebook Live and all these ways that we were bringing campus to people, what we were consistently hearing were things like, gosh, I haven't been on campus for ages. Wow, it's so great to see home. I haven't been there in so long. So just imagine, that quintessential place on campus that you used to participate in or visit, or that you consider your home. You haven't been there in a long time, and somebody takes the time to take you back there, right? To take you back to the newsroom floor that you worked on as a student, or the student union where you spent your time, and they give you an update on where things are today and the cool things that are happening there now, and getting you energized about what's happening on your campus today. There is a personalization and a coolness factor there that's really unmatched. And I think that's where we're going to see that real wonderful connection from people who are familiar with Mizzou. And then for people who aren't familiar with Mizzou, they'll have a chance to learn something new that they didn't know about, and a chance to get energized and excited about the things happening here. So
Just it, opening a window into campus and allowing people wherever they are out in the internet
come in with me,
come in, revisit, rekindle,
get to know us.
Yeah. Everybody, Ashley, Jessica, Angela, Todd, thank you all so much for your partnership, for the webinar. We will be recording this, so if anyone's watching and they want to share this with any peers, please do. If anyone has any follow-up questions that we didn't get to, please send them our way. Again, just thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your experience, and we cannot wait to keep growing this program year 2 and beyond. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.